government. So the question is it ever worth going to the mat? Is there any issue so important worth going to the mat where you'll shut down the government?
Absolutely. Abortion is abhorrent, and it's murder, and we ought to defund it, and I think we also ought to jail some of the leaders once we do defund it. At the same time, Newt Gingrich shut the government down, and he got what he wanted. What did Bill Clinton say? The era of big government is over. So shutting down the government does work. We ought to shut down the government, because the more the government is shut down, the better off all of us are. The less they work, the better off we are. If we shut down the government, people will lose jobs. I was under the sequestration. I worked at the Defense Intelligence Agency. I got hit with the sequestration, but I told people the entire time I was working there, I said, in order for this country to be saved, many government workers are going to have to lose their jobs. Yes, government workers have to lose their jobs. They're getting paid a whole lot of money, and many times they're not doing a whole lot of anything, and much of the work is a duplication of effort. So I think we should shut down the government, and we should shut down the government a lot more than we probably have.
Thank you, Chris Mason. Scott Cheng, back to you.
Me, actually. Hello, can you hear me? Yeah. I do not think it shut down government is the best way. If something is an issue, we need talking and discussion, negotiating on that. But I don't think shut down the government is the best way, because anyway, if you shut down and then you still need to open it. So I mean, if you shut down, people complain that. I will say that, we have to find a good way to fight with that Democrat. Because if you have something, we need to play them wrong, and we need to use the media, let everybody know they are wrong. And then, because if you shut down, and then people will complain that Republicans shut down government. I don't think it's the best way. We have to find a smart way to fight with them. And also, make the government smaller. And that federal government out of local state, the state government business. So if the federal government knows so much of a strong power, and then state government can take many of local business, then we don't necessarily to shut down government. This is my answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Scott Cheng. Frank Howard.
Ken, I think it's a false choice when we say, is it ever worthwhile to shut down the government? Because this is, although you made a very good point, President Obama is actually the one who pulled the trigger and shut down the government. Somehow the Republicans got blamed for it. It's really not a partisan issue, though, in my mind. The American public is fed up with the way the federal government is run, and I think rightfully so. I think there are ways to come to agreement and to say that this is going to, on any given topic, is going to be a criminal referral. On this particular topic, we have disagreements, but we're going to have appropriators go through this agency's departmental budget line by line, and they can defund what they need to. But I don't think that we need to be shutting down the government over any particular given topic, because there are ways to come to agreement without the revulsion that comes from the public directed at all politicians. And let's face it, the mainstream media twists it and turns it, and it's always the Republicans' fault. So if you can just stay out of shutting down the government, you don't have to fight the uphill battle, because most of the mainstream media leans left. So that's a losing battle.
I'm going to take the moderator's prerogative and just throw out a comment here, is that Mr. Boehner took that point of view and he lost his job as a result of it. Ami Huber?
All right. Let me make one thing very clear to start off with. I do support the Hyde Amendment that prohibits federal funding of abortions. We may get back to that issue later. But relative to government and shutting it down, I have always been in favor of less government, but the way to get that is not to eliminate it. I strongly oppose shutting down the government over any issue. It costs money, and it disproportionately harms the people in my district. It disproportionately harms the federal workers in the 6th district, and that is unfair for our district, and it is unfair for the country. It's also a major embarrassment in terms of the world and our ability to continue to function as a major player and leader in the world economy.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask you now a very brief question, and after that we're going to take a 5-minute break. This is a 30-second response, and I want you to think about what committees, should you be elected to Congress, you would like to serve on, and where your expertise could be of most use. And we'll start where you left off with Ami Huber. 30 seconds, please.
Okay, I have listed the ones I'd be interested in. I think my expertise leads to a reasonable role in all of them. Armed Services, Homeland Security, Intelligence, and Veterans Affairs. I think I have an amount of expertise and knowledge to bring to all of them.
Thank you. Delegate vote?
Armed Services, Homeland Security, Veteran Affairs would be very natural as a Marine, having spent time in active duty and at the Pentagon. I would also push for appropriations, as that's what I've done in Annapolis, and that's where some of the more difficult decisions need to be made that these current members of Congress are not doing. And I've got the experience after doing it with our budget here in Maryland. We're going to go down to DC and start making them listen to the people again.
Thank you. Commissioner Baker.
For myself, I'd really enjoy being on the environmental committee. Environmentally, not one other candidate here hunts and fishes as much as I do, concerned about the quality of the air, the quality of the water, rules and regulations that are just rampant in our country today, keeping businesses from moving forward, keeping small businesses from moving forward. And when you talk about development and trying to generate some tax revenue for your community, it's almost at a standstill every time as a result of what the environmentalists are doing to our community. The other one would be budget and finance. Most of you know me here in Washington County. I try to be as frugal as I possibly can. I like to try to spend our county's tax dollars on needs, not wants, and would be a good voice on both of those committees. Thank you.
Did you hear what I did in Montgomery County? We have all elected Democrats down there, very liberal Democrats. I put a question on the ballot to require a unanimous vote of the county council to increase property taxes more than the rate of inflation. Every elected official opposed it, and guess what? I got it passed. Now we're controlling that wasteful spending in Montgomery County, and we're going to control it when I get down on the Hill too. We're going to bring home the bacon. I want to get on appropriations so that Western Maryland can be the big dog, not the tail of the dog, not the afterthought when it comes to the bacon. We need to improve our transportation, Hagerstown Airport, Cumberland Airport, I-81, and I-270, and I'm going to do the job if you send me down there.
Thank you very much. Chris.
Yeah, I'd like to be on the Armed Services, more Intelligence Committee, because I want to free the hands of our military, our special forces to go kill people that need to be killed. And I'd like to also be on the Education Committee, because I'd like to defund the Department of Education and put education back in the local communities.
Okay. Scott Jay.
Okay. I received MD and PhD. I completed my postdoctoral work at Northwestern University. I have international experience with China, Europe, and the USA because I got a PhD in Europe. I'm smart, and I have knowledge, and I'm smarter better than John Delaney. I think I work harder than him, and if I'm elected, I think I have more sense to develop economic better than him. Thank you.
Okay, very good. And finally, Frank.
I was in this room last night, standing right where Ken is standing, and I got to address the club meeting here, and I'll say now what I said then. It's funny how these things come full circle. I'm an Air Force veteran, and I would love to be on the Veterans Affairs, and the Budget and Finance would be right up my alley, given my desire to work with Speaker Ryan's stated intention this coming year to get back to regular order and to reform the way Congress goes about appropriations. I'd like those two.
Okay, very good. I thank the candidates for this first round. You've pretty much kept in the time, except for the opening statements, which I entirely understand. We're going to take a 5-minute break. Everybody can go get a glass of water.